This episode of Invent America Radio is brought to you by America's Inventor Lady and Home Talk USA. Home Talk is a proud member of the King Broadcasting Network and has been bringing you the best of America's home-based product innovation since 1998.
Broadcasting and streaming live all across America. This is Home Talk USA. Join us this hour for our segment Invent America with your co-host Rita Crompton. Discover what's next for new products and innovations. Or if you have that next great big idea, learn what it takes to bring your invention to the world. As like Rita Crompton talked to America's inventors and innovators. Remember, the America of tomorrow is being invented today.
Hello, America, and welcome to Invent America, because America invents. Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for being with us for this hour of Invent America, because America invents. We've been doing it for a long time, and we will continue to solve problems that we see in our everyday lives by having the normal person in their kitchen, in their garage, in their backyard, coming up with a solution to that problem. And, when we got back from ASD Market Week, holy cow, we had a variety of products out there, everything from a new fire extinguisher that would put out a lithium fire to our new winner for the Innovation Award this year. And we will be announcing that in just a few minutes. So I would like to thank the sponsor of this hour, Impeccable Air, the leader of Whole Home Air. It's never been easier to make sure that the air you are breathing is good air. ImpeccableAir.com. My guest this segment is Don Skaggs. He is the president of the Kentucky Group. He's an inventor himself. And, I love his story where he says, let them copy me. I can beat them every time. And he did. So, Don, you have been watching inventors, start telling their story. And I think that the whole idea of the Innovation Award is about the idea of giving inventors acknowledgement, giving them, a little bit of marketing that is like, look at this cool new product that's out there. And for the inventors, like Leslie, who wants to license it, she doesn't want to be manufacturing and, trying to sell these things all over the world. She wants to license it. And this is not a build it and they will come. They don't know you're there. So,
they don't know you're there.
And so our idea is, how do we help them tell the story? And so what have you seen? What are the best ways to tell the stories?
Hey, Rita, and thanks for so much for having me on the show. It's true. I mean, if you build it, they will come only works in bad Kevin Costner movies. You've got to get out there and pitch. It's like inventors, sometimes it's like they have dressed up for the prom, they've rented the tux, they've gotten the limousine, they pulled up to the dance, and they're standing along the wall. We've got a saying at the Inventors Network Kentucky, and that is, nobody wants to dance with the wallflowers. Unless you're out there cutting the rug, you're out there engaging with people, and you've got good optics that you have prepared ahead of time. Nobody's going to know you're there. You're absolutely right.
It's, and I know, Angela, I know you talked to, the one gentleman that came down from Canada. I don't know that he actually understood what he had, because he certainly couldn't explain it to anybody else. And it's like, you've got to have that message in 15 seconds is good. If you can say, what problem did you solve and how did you solve it? 30 seconds is, really pushing it to get the message across. I am not kidding. You could listen to this young man, very nice young man. I still don't know that he's ever been able to explain to anybody what he actually had.
And when they have to say, all you have to do is follow these 27 simple steps. There's no such thing as 27 simple steps. You've overcomplicated it. Somebody's asked you what time it is, and you've tried to explain to them how to build a clock. So you really have to distill this down. You have to have not just the elevator pitch, you have to have the escalator pitch. How fast can I get across my idea to somebody? I am passing on an escalator.
Yeah, very good. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna keep that.
Yes.
Because you're exactly right. It's like, that when we go to a trade show, because we can get more eyes on a product at a 3 or 4 day trade show than you can in 6 months online. So those trade shows now all of a sudden, become very reasonable ways to spend your marketing dollars. And so, and not only that, but now instead of getting one consumer to give you their feedback, they're representing all of their buyers. So now it carries more weight when they're talking, well, my buyers would pay this, my buyers would like this kind of product. This is the gap we see in the current marketplace. Something simple that is not filling a big enough hole in the marketplace isn't going to be able to carry the product into, grabbing consumers' money, because there's other things that are already out there.
Yeah, yeah. You just get drowned out by all the other noise. And all you have to do is put your ear to the ground at a trade show, and you can find those things out
Yep,
from the
absolutely.
buyers, like you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like Apple spent a lot of money to teach you that an apple is something that you play with instead of something that you eat. And
Exactly.
most inventors don't have those millions of dollars to train you that this is a problem you didn't even know you had.
Right.
So we've got to be smart with our words and smart with our time.
There's so many opportunities out there, and so many inventors and entrepreneurs are missing them because they are, they're just not looking at them. They're hiding in plain sight. And what inventors really have to do is they have to train themselves to be able to see and listen for those things, those big pain points in the marketplace. The bigger the pain point, the bigger the opportunity.
I know we had one gentleman, he wasn't able to be there, but we had his product there. And so when I sent him the feedback that we got while we were at the show, and I said, all right, where you are right now is go to your favorite, Ace Hardware, because they're very friendly to inventors and usually locally owned. See if you can set up a table outside on a nice Saturday and get the feedback, because you need to hear what everybody was telling us, because he didn't want to believe me. He didn't want to believe me ahead of time, and he didn't want to believe everybody else at the show that was asking about we were trying to show the product, and everybody goes, okay, I don't understand why. And so it's like, you need to hear this. You need to hear it yourself and then be able to address it.
Yes. And I remember a lot of people used to make fun of Ron Popeil, the guy that had the Showtime oven rotisserie. And, he was on late night TV. He was hawking this little oven. Ron Popeil made $1 billion with a B. And he always used to say developing and marketing is the right and the left foot. It says you've got to pair the two. Develop for what the market is dictating.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's why there were several of our inventors at the show that learned the message that they were giving was not as clear as it needed to be. And it helped them fine tune them, because people were asking questions, and it's like, okay, I need to start with these answers. I need to go with this.
Yes. And that's the other part where, sure, you've got to be able to speak up. I'm sure you've got to talk, but you've got to listen too. Because if you're not listening to these questions that they keep asking, you need to be making notes after every conversation. Ooh, they were asking this. Ooh, they were asking that. These are the things that they're actually interested in, not the things that you are interested in. And it all comes back to, really, for inventors and entrepreneurs, it's not about you. It's about those customers and what they want, and what their needs are, and what their wants are. That's what's going to really drive everything.
Exactly. It's about what problem did you solve and how did you solve it? And,
Exactly.
when you've got something, it's like, the guy that did that flashlight that wraps around to the pole. Flashlight is a light coming out of the end of the stick, but now you don't have to hold it in your mouth to use both hands. It was so cool.
Love it. Love it.
Our two inventors on today, they did answer a problem, and I know that they are working to get the message out there. Both of them had really good feedback at ASD Market Week. One was last year, one was this year, and we will be back to talk more to Leslie and to Angela about what they did invent, what they learned at the show, and how they then fine-tune. You know what? We're gonna test them with that marketing, because we're going to ask them, what did they invent? And then we'll see, did they Did you learn how to explain it, ladies? I think it's really interesting that both of our winners had different types of containment products, and that the majority of their buyers are going to be women, except for the nail guys in the garage. My husband has what he calls a happy box in the garage. He's happy if he finds what he needs, and so Angela's product will definitely solve that for my husband, and we are grateful. So everybody, stick with us because we are going to be back in just a few minutes, and we're going to talk to our two winners and have them explain exactly what it was they invented. Don, thanks so much, and we will talk to you the end of the hour.
Thanks, Rita.
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Invent America. And if you are out there and you know an inventor, or you've got an idea for a new product, somebody that, maybe a neighbor that's working on a new product, have them get in touch so that we can answer questions. And you know what? If they're already in the process, we can get them on the radio. It's free for our inventors to be on the radio. And this segment is brought to you by Bond Products. It is for all your DIY carpet binding. So if you've got some carpet that's starting to shred a little bit, or one of your hallway rugs, carpet binding, that is the way to fix it. Bondproducts.com. And I will be getting some of that because you know what? I've got two huskies and they tend to do a job on the rugs. So we are grateful for bondproducts.com. My next guest is Leslie Holland. I met Leslie at ASD Market Week last year. She was the winner of the Innovation Award. And so we get her posted out there and we get her on the radio more than once a year. And I think, 3 or 4 times last year, Leslie, we had you on.
That's right. That's right.
So tell our listeners about the jewelry closet.
Well, Rita, it's a modular jewelry organizer, and it's the first and only one of its type. And I call it your happy jewelry organizer because you know how it is when you go and find jewelry in your collection and you can't find anything. Or you're happy if you find anything. So I had this similar frustration, and I went looking for an organizer that would keep all my pieces separate, make it easy to find. And there was nothing, and still is nothing on the market. These organizers today don't have enough space, and they definitely don't have the right kind of space. So over the last 3 years, I worked diligently with a design engineer and came up with the jewelry closet. So what the jewelry closet is a vertically oriented organizer that allows all your jewelry to drape very elegantly and beautifully. Each piece has its own place within the organizer. And the best part is that there is a series of interchangeable parts so that the jewelry collector, jewelry enthusiast can design their own layout to fit their storage needs. So I've got it prototyped. I've got 2 patents. It's trademarked, and I just had my design engineer do a beautiful 3D animated video. So I'm ready to go.
So what was your experience at ASD last year?
ASD Market Week was wonderful because it meant that I was no longer that wallflower, and boy, is this some exposure. This is, of course, the nation's biggest wholesale fire trade show in the nation, and anything and everything, like you said. But it was wonderful in so many ways, in the sense that I got lots and lots of positive feedback. So that was always good to know. It kind of validates the value that you think you're bringing to this market. And then I had 2 companies approach me, one very seriously talking about a potential licensing agreement, other was tentative. And then, of course, winning the award, holy mackerel. There's nothing nicer than to be able to say, oh, I have a dual patented product, which is amazing in itself, but it's also an award-winning product. So that piques people's interest. And so I'm so proud of that, and I can't thank you enough. And again, it has propelled people's interest forward for sure. Very useful.
So when you talk about licensing, all right, a lot of our listeners may not know that when you start your own company, all right, and you're going to be manufacturing, you're carrying all the burden with that, the manufacturing, the marketing, the infringement issues, the product liability issues. When you license it, okay, that's a very different animal.
Absolutely. And I watched enough Shark Tank over the years to know way better than to try myself with absolutely no expertise. You can imagine just getting a really nice prototype, getting this to this point, this patent. This has been quite the journey. It's been a fun learning experience. But then for someone like myself, the independent inventor with absolutely zero background, and I really do not want to expend the kinds of funds that might be required. I mean, you're just looking at, quite frankly, a seriously potential losing proposition. And the numbers of independent inventors that have patents who actually are successful doing this is between 1% to 5%. For those of us who license, the odds go up dramatically to between 10 and 15%. And again, that's probably mostly contingent upon that wallflower, getting off the wall and going out and cutting the carpet. So
it is.
Much
so,
smarter.
When you're looking then at licensing, another company is going to make it, market it, sell it, and, send you a check. So for a lot of inventors, that's the first time you actually go to the bank to make a deposit.
Yes, and so that is very much the goal here, because and like you always say, Rita, it costs money to invent especially a product. It costs a lot of money. So I'm really hoping to see a return on that. But I think the bigger issue is not even so much how much it costs to get here, but it really is solving this problem for millions and millions of women around the world. Women own tons of jewelry. It's a $350 billion market. So it is, I'm just going to say it's a great idea. I have validation after validation proving so, and that award does the same thing for me. So thank you.
Well, that's excellent. So you went to ASD, and I know that you've done some other things. So, all right. So, when we go to ASD Market Week, if you go by yourself, it's generally going to run somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000. When you go with us, it runs right around $3,000. And there's other shows that you can do and go to that may be local. And we always tell inventors, it's like, stay away from the shows that focus on the inventor, because it's a feeding frenzy and you're the main course. And, it really doesn't matter how expensive the suit is, the shark will still eat you.
Right.
And so, but there are other places where an inventor can go to learn the pitch. So what are some of the things that you've done that have helped you learn how to pitch, how to practice?
A lot of repetition. And one thing I wanted to put out there for everybody is that on Amazon Prime, there is a show called Buy It Now. So they get all these inventors on there, and they have 90 seconds to pitch their product. And there's an audience that votes on the quality of mostly the pitch, but also the product. But I really highly recommend that to people. So when you listen to this over and over and you see which of those pitches are the most successful, it's just a really good way to go. So I highly recommend it for people.
Well, thank you so much. It's interesting because we get inventors that are always coming up with new ideas. There are times when I look at one and I'm thinking, you know what, you should not be going there. Save your money and, go buy it on Amazon.
Right.
And then there's others that's like, okay, this one is really cool. I like this one. And so, we really try to help inventors understand, no, don't do that one. Yes, move forward. And every once in a while, somebody will get really mad at me when I say, you know what, there were 5 on Amazon, so you should go there. It's a lot cheaper than, this walk down the patent process and prototype. So anyway,
Right.
Everybody stick with us. We are going to be right back with this year's winner of the Innovation Award. And we need you. We need all of our American consumers out there to say, oh, I want that, and then go to the website. So thank you so much. And we will be right back with Angela Kendall, and she's going to tell you what she invented.
Thank you, Rita.
everybody. Thank you so much for being with us for this hour of Invent America. This segment is brought to you by Aztec Washer. It's a revolutionary and innovative roofing product. They have been around since 1968. They must be doing something right. Seal it tight, aztecwasher.com. And we are so happy to have on this segment our winner of the Innovation Award from the show. What? My goodness, Angela, that was only 2 weeks ago. And, we had you out there. Congratulations. And tell our listeners, what is your product?
Oh my God. I think I'm still in shock that I won. I'm so excited. I'm literally so excited. It came in such an amazing time in my life. So thank you so much. I invented the Snap and Pack. And the Snap and Pack is the only customizable storage solution, which when I first started the patent process, it was going to be for just food, but it has click on, snap on compartments of different sizes so that you can customize it to what you need exactly, different sizes. I'm making bigger sizes. It's just, I got so much validation at the show. I was talking to other inventors and we all said the same thing. Your family will never tell you you're crazy.
No, right.
But but when you go to shows like, and it was my first show, and as you know, it happened so fast. I got my patent at the end of January of 25, and then I'm at this show in Vegas, and it was overwhelming, but so much fun. And you all were so helpful, and the other inventors were so amazing. It was just a great experience.
Well, it's, you had prototypes. All
Yeah.
right. There was Jean Moody there with her prototypes.
Yeah.
And she did Wrap a Candle. And then there was the lady down at the end, Luana. She had one prototype, and she had a beautiful prototype, but that was the only one she had.
Yeah.
And, then there were some guys on the other side, and everybody who brought inventory with them sold everything.
I had people asking me, can I buy this right now? And my heart died a little bit inside every time. I was like, I wish I could sell you some. But actually having the prototypes there really brought interest to my table because the people were playing with them and they were snapping them into each other. And they were thinking of all these different uses that they could use them for and getting excited. And it just really gave me so much momentum to keep moving forward. It was seriously amazing.
So as you've been going through this process, you said, it happened really pretty fast.
It did.
What has been your biggest challenge so far?
Well, I would say getting the utility patent. I think that's the biggest challenge for everyone that goes through this process because there's so many parts during that process, as you know, where you just want to give up, where they want to review it and they send it back because of one word or one sentence. And you're like, okay, this is enough. I can't do this. But I think just have the perseverance to keep pushing forward through the patent process is really the biggest thing for me.
So it's, it is for a lot of, I know it's funny because, they'll think, okay, the hardest part has been the patent process. And then they start the prototyping and going into some manufacturing. They say, nope, this trumps that. And then they get to the marketing part. It's like, nope, this is the worst. And so it's like each part is more challenging than the last one.
It really is. And I think, I know you and I have talked behind the scenes. I think also learning how to navigate what is a true lead or interest and what's not. Because the day that I got my patent awarded, my phone and even my husband's phone started ringing off the hook with all these people promising us pie in the sky. We see you got your patent. But I learned very quickly that they are just out for themselves. They have no interest in what I've made, in the difference I want to make, nothing.
Yeah. That happens to everybody on that. So, really learning, what makes sense. All right.
Yeah.
And then what are the next steps? So what are you hoping to do with this? I mean, you had a great show, you've won an award now. And so what's next for you?
Well, I came home with a stack of business cards. I could not believe I just started collecting them and throwing them in my purse and my bag. I think you and Cindy saw me just tossing them in my bag. And I came home and organized them. And I probably had over 50 business cards that I had to sort through, figure out what's what. But honestly, I'm just going wherever the good Lord takes me. If I can find a licensing deal, I would do a licensing deal. Just trying to navigate, the process now and get organized has really been my focus after the show.
Yeah, it's, for a lot of inventors, there's a romance that goes on with starting the business and doing the manufacturing and owning it. All right.
Yeah.
And then there's a reality check of the licensing part of it. And so when we look at that, if you're carrying all the burden yourself, you've got to be an expert at manufacturing. You've got to be an
Right.
expert at marketing. You've got to be an expert at the business side of it, which is a whole nother animal.
Right.
And for a lot of inventors, life gets in the way and you can't be an
Yeah.
expert at everything.
Exactly. And I have 4 kids. I have 2 other businesses. So time is the biggest challenge for me. I had people coming up to me at the show, distributors saying, can you send me 20 boxes? Can you send me 1,000 pieces? And here's me. I'm like, I'm just here to see if this is like a great idea or not. Like, I don't know what to do. But it was very encouraging, because I also got a lot of feedback from people that said, hey, I really like this. I definitely see a purpose for it. Can't wait to buy it. But hey, can you add a little lift tab to the lid to make the lid easier to lift? And I never would have thought of that, because you get so enamored with your own product that you're like, I'm in love with it, but you can't be so in love with it that you are not willing to change it for something that the consumer is giving you. The feedback, that's what I found the best. The feedback was invaluable.
I know we had a lady last year that had 2 prototypes to her name, and she was at the show. She goes, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I'm really not even sure I'm supposed to be here. By the time she got done, she went back, she filed new intellectual property. She went and had the prototypes fine-tuned. She went and placed an order, and the stores were telling her, we don't want a case, we want a pallet.
Wow.
How fast can we get them? And so she was just, off to the races to go after licensing, and has a ton of interest. And Leslie, you know her. It was Wendy Short with the Float No More.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
So she just had a great show last year and is excited on moving on. So, when you start getting that feedback and ideas on price points and ideas on different types of packaging, can you put a little, clip on it so it's easier to close or let, those are really valuable. And you learn that in, 4 days at ASD Market Week that you wouldn't have gotten if you'd had 5,000 of them made.
Right.
You'd have thought, oh, well, that was, really wish I'd known that 6 months ago.
Exactly. And another good thing that happened is I did have some men come over, and they challenged me, and they were really putting my product to the test, and they were, playing with it and opening the lids and still filling it with stuff. And they were like, why do we need this? And, there's something out there just like it. And I said, well, tell me what. And he sat there and he couldn't think and he couldn't think. And I was so proud of myself with how I handled them. And one of the other inventors actually heard the whole conversation. They're like, you really handled that guy with grace. He was really pushing me to my limits, but you really have to be ready for anything.
Yeah, you do. And you learn a lot. You learn how to deal with all of that. And because you'll get other questions like that. And that was one of the things that, we're doing an evaluation for an inventor now. And I said, you need to know the weak spots of your intellectual property and your product. So this is who you should talk to. And that way, then when you go to present, you're prepared for the questions.
Yeah. And someone actually did do exactly what you guys are just talking about. They said, in 30 seconds or less, pitch me on why I need this product.
Yep.
And I was ready. And they were like, wow, you were really ready for that. I was like, I've been working on this patent and this invention for 15 years. It's going to be, you're going to die hard trying to stump me. Like this is, you're not going to stump me here.
Yeah, I know. I'll tell inventors, it's like stand in front of your bathroom mirror and practice these words. Because they're not expecting to need to be able to answer questions that way. And so we say, practice these words. And when you don't know the answer to the question, you got this answer or this answer.
Yeah. And I think it's also easy to automatically get defensive when you've been working on something for so long and you love it. And you've got these beautiful, what I thought were beautiful, prototypes there, and they're critiquing it. You just have to remember, like, okay, this guy or girl could potentially want to buy a pallet of my product someday. So how am I going to handle this? And you have to just handle it with grace.
Yes, you do. And you were wonderful, at the show, and very eloquent when you were answering the questions for folks. And, they do come by with a sense of challenging you. They don't know if they want to spend the money on the product. And most of the folks there, they're either buyers or they're looking for, a reason to say, okay, we've already got this thing. So you did a very good job. You deserve to win this award.
I am so excited.
And so we will get you up there. I know that my web guy is already looking to get you put up there. So sorry, Leslie, yours will be taken down and Angela's will go up.
Sorry, Leslie.
Hey,
Good job, though.
congratulations, Angela. Proud
Thank
of
you
you.
so much. Thank you. I'm proud of you.
Thank
So,
you.
ladies, thank you so much for joining me today. We are proud of both of you and glad to have you as winners of the Innovation Award. Everybody stick with us. We are going to be right back to wrap up this segment of Invent America. And we're going to have some words of wisdom from our industry expert, Don Skaggs. Welcome back, America, to this segment of Invent America, because America invents. We love to solve problems. And, it doesn't matter if it's at your kitchen table or in your backyard. We love to solve the problems and give to all of our consumer those really awesome new products that they can use in everyday life. So if you're listening out there and you've heard a very cool product today, get online, take a look, see what you can find. And you know what? Go down to your local store and say, I want to get this. And you know what? They're going to come looking for it. So this segment of our show is brought to you by Trim-a-Slab. If you need to replace rotting or missing woods, it's often found driveways, sidewalks, decks. It is easy to install. It's incredibly fast and it looks great. Easy to remove when you need to. Trimaslab.com. We're going to wrap up this hour of Invent America with our industry expert, Don Skaggs. Don, thanks so much for being with us today. It is wonderful. What words of wisdom do you have for inventors out there, and how can our listening audience help?
Well, Rita, there's so many things. Inventing it's a process, and you have to really know the right steps. And so many inventors and entrepreneurs out there, they think they know the steps, but they really don't, or they think they know the steps and they're all out of order. And the last thing you want is a washing machine with soapy clothes coming out at the end because the cycles aren't going in the right direction. And that's what happens so many times. They kind of get everything out of whack. And I think a lot of times that's why you need guidance, and that's why you need wisdom from other people who've been there. They've done that.
Yeah.
And a lot of ways you can do that is through our organization, kyinventors.org, or through yours. And there's so many really, really good resources, but you've got to be able to find the good ones.
Right.
And Rita, I think you're right on the button with just all the good advice that you have on this program.
Well, we do the Inventors Roundtable where people can come and ask questions. And, I've had so many inventors when I say the first thing you spend money on is the good international search. Well, why does it have to be international? Well, if it's been done anywhere in the world at any time in history, you will not be granted a U.S. patent. Well, I'm not planning on selling internationally. Doesn't matter. And most of the time they don't realize that it's sometimes the best $500 they spend is on the search because they can learn, don't go there, go on to your next idea.
Yeah, and they can get so focused on, this is the best thing since sliced bread. I just know it. This is it, Don. This is my magnum opus. I know this is going to be perfect. And they've not asked one person, and they've not done one search, and they have no idea. They're living in a bubble. And if you live in a bubble, you're some of those inventors, no successful inventor or entrepreneur ever works in total isolation. But there's so many out there that I see. They're like Tom Hanks in that movie Castaway, except they don't even have a soccer ball to talk to. and but they think they're, oh yes, I know, I've created fire, I have done this. But no, you've not. You're not when you start reacting with the real world. And that's where they get disappointed.
I know. I had a gentleman call me to his house. He wanted to show me his invention. I went over, he had beautiful drawings. They could have been framed and on a wall. They were beautiful.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was of this really interesting looking spaceship that was going to land in the forest so you could have a one-on-one meeting with God. It's like, I think it's called a church, and there's one on every corner.
Yes.
But he found a patent attorney that would write a patent for him.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't believe it. It's like, oh my God, this is one of those times where it's like, you better have a proof of concept prototype, and I want to see that meeting with God.
You know, and patents are like bananas. You know, if you go to the grocery store, they give you a big cart. You can get one of those nice big shopping carts. And if you go up to the banana section, you can fill that cart in full of bananas. And when you go to the checkout aisle, they will sell you every banana in that cart. Now, did you need all those bananas? Can you eat all those bananas before they rot? Well, that's like a patent. I mean, if you go into some patent attorneys, why, yes, Mr. Smith, we'll for $20,000, we can write you a nice patent from this napkin sketch that you just gave us. And you know, it's not a good first step.
No.
It's not.
No, it's not. I know I had a gentleman, he goes, well, I did it myself, and the examiner said it was just brilliant. Well, of course they did. You know, it's like, of course, I understand that they said it was brilliant. That's, you know.
I think a lot of people get these, I call them vanity patents. I mean, you put, and I've seen some really smart people with a lot of letters after their name, and they're so proud in their office. They've got up on the wall all these nice little plaques, and you can buy a plaque when you get a patent. Hey, my dad got a patent. I bought him a plaque. There's nothing wrong with that. But if that's all you have is just the plaque and no real product and no real marketplace and no real ROI, then you've got a vanity patent.
Yep. I know. I talked to a gentleman. He was so proud of the fact he had 20, and he had not made a single penny on any of them because he could not get past the next step of, oh, do you have a functioning prototype of any of them? Well, no, I just want to sell the patents. Well, you know, it really doesn't matter, you know, how cute your belly button is. I can't sell it. And, you know, that's just kind of the way it goes. So, you know, it's always interesting when I start working, you know, with inventors, getting through, you know, those steps and the process and helping them understand, you know, that, you know, what you have solved is not necessarily new and novel. And that's kind of the first step that we take. But it's, you know, we take a lot of pleasure in working with inventors, answering the questions. You know, we do the inventor roundtable meetings, you do the KY meetings, and really helping answer the questions. And I think that, you know, by the time, you know, it's like Leslie and Angela and they get to ASD Market Week, they've taken those steps and they've done the hard work and they've paid the money for those prototypes. So we will be back next week and we will answer some more questions for the inventors out there and for you, the American consumer. So when you think about, oh, I think I'll grow up and be an inventor one day, it's like, well, you're going to have more success if you know all the right steps. And we need you. We need you to go out and buy those products that the American inventor is getting to marketplace. So join us, and we love to visit with you. And if you've got anybody out there who's got a question, please have them get in touch. And thanks everybody for being with us. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We will be back next week with more stories on getting products from mind to market. We will have new inventors and industry experts. So join us and have a wonderful week.